Alright, today I'm going to be hacking a Samsung A503. I know this camera's been out for a long time, and it's a great little camera. It makes a great camera to convert to infrared, and also do a cap modification on it so that the internal batteries last a lot longer. That makes it unnecessary to use externals unless you really want to, and I will be adding externals to this one today. Like I said, this camera's been around for quite some time, and there's plenty of PDFs, and I think Charles Garrett has a few videos out on how to hack it, but I'm just going to go through the process today. First order of business is to remove all the screws that's holding the two halves of the camera together, and you notice there's one right above the battery door, and then you open the battery door, and there's 3 screws here, and there's also one down here that holds on the front cover that you'll need to take out. There's 3 screws across the bottom, and then there's 2 screws on the side over here. Need to keep all these screws in order because some of them are different lengths than others, so I'm going to take those screws out, and I'm going to do that off camera, and then I'll come back. Alright, so once you got all your screws out of the camera, on this side over here you can just pull that whole side cover off. Okay, and then open your battery door, and we're going to need to take the front cover off first. So just start pulling out at the bottom here and work that out. This whole bottom trim piece here, you can take that off as well. Okay, and then you just rotate your front cover up, and it's going to feel kind of hard because it's kind of glued in place too. Just keep rotating it up until it pops free, and then you can take your whole front cover off. Okay, now to get the back cover off, there's a couple of screws that we're going to need to remove in order to do that. There's one in the corner right over here. Not sure how well that's showing up for you on the camera. Anyway, there's a little black screw here, and then one down in a recessed area over here that needs to come out. So I'm going to get those out, and also you need to remove this little black screw here, and I'll go ahead and do that one on camera. Just take that off. Okay, and so anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get those other 2 screws out, and then we'll take the back cover off. Alright, and there's a couple other screws that I failed to mention need to take out too. One right down here, deep in this recess area. That's a pretty long screw there that's got to come out. And then over here we need to take this speaker off the board, and that's glued in place. So just kind of pop that out of there, and then that'll give you access to a screw that's down behind it that's got the motherboard screwed to the back cover. So take that one out. Like I said, keep these screws oriented also because some of them are different lengths. Alright, from here we can start to pull our back cover away and just rotate it up, and that whole cover comes off. Okay. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to be doing the infrared modification on this camera, and I'll show you that in just a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to show you the hack locations on this camera, and we're going to be hacking into the or soldering our wires to this row of pins up here. Okay, so we're going to need starting right here by the power button, and count from there over 1, 2, 3, 4. Solder a wire to pin number 4. That's going to be your common wire, and then count over to 6. That's going to be your power. Pin 7 is going to be shutter. Then pin 8 is going to be our external battery negative, and then pin 12 is going to be your external battery positive. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get all my wires soldered on, and I want to route my wires coming across the back side of this board, and I'm going to come over into a location just about here, because on my top cover right here I'm going to drill a hole just about in this area right here where it says megapixels. Somewhere right in that area I'm going to drill a hole that I can exit my wires out, because I'm going to be mounting a servo on the top of the camera. So I'm going to go ahead and get all my wires soldered on and get those in place, and then we'll come back and do the capacitor modification on the camera, and we're also going to be converting the camera lens to infrared. Alright, so I've got the wires soldered on to the header pins up top for my hack, and I'm going to go ahead and do the capacitor modification on this camera. Now, in order to do that, there's 2 screws on the back board that have to be removed. One right down here, and then this one right here. You need to take those out. And keep these screws separate from any others that you've already removed. Okay, and there's also some tape up here holding black and red wires right here. Just peel that back and get where you can get those wires lifted up, because we're going to need to get some slack. Just pull them up over the top corner of the board, and then we're going to need to start trying to work this board loose. Pull it from this side, start working it loose, and it's going to disconnect from a header that comes across here that connects to these pins that we soldered our wires to. And then once you get that loose, just have to try to persuade it to pull out in this corner over here, so we can get access to that capacitor that's in there. Alright, and then you can lay your board over, get it out of the way, and now we can desolder our capacitor that's here, because we're going to be replacing it with a little small 2.2 UF 350 volt capacitor, and this will effectively make your flash on the camera very, very weak, but it will still be strong enough to fire a slave flash, but it will also greatly increase your longevity of the batteries in the camera, and it will make the camera just a little bit faster, because that small capacitor will almost instantly charge up. So in order to get this capacitor off over here, you can snip the leads under the bottom and just get rid of that capacitor, and then desolder those wires, and that's what I'm going to do, and then I can come back. Alright, so I've gotten the original capacitor removed and the new capacitor soldered in place, as you can see here. Now it does make a difference as to which way you orient the leads on that capacitor. One side of this little small capacitor is going to have a gray band, and that's going to be the negative side. So the lead coming off of that side needs to solder to this location here, and then your positive lead to the other side. And then once you've got that soldered on, you can just go ahead and snip off the extra portion of the lead that's exposed, and put this backboard back in place. And from there we're going to come back and do the infrared conversion on the camera. Alright, just going to show you what I've done with the wires up top just for now. I've just got them all laid out in place as close as I can get them, side by side, coming over to this side over here, taped them down in place, and I'll put some goop over those wires just to glue them into place so they'll stay there later. Alright, so on to the infrared conversion. What we're going to need to do is remove our lens, and you'll do that by taking out this screw, and there's also a spring back behind there. But the first thing you need to do is look underneath, and there's a white block right here, and you need to lift up that block so that it releases the ribbon for the lens. You need to be really careful with that lens, because they can be fragile and tear pretty easy. So we're going to go ahead and remove the screw here and the spring. Okay. Remove the other screw and spring. Alright, and now we need to try to get that ribbon out of the holder down there without tearing it up. Okay, pull that up, and now you can lift your lens assembly out. Okay, and at this point you can go ahead and remove this macro ring right here. You can take that out because you're not going to need that anymore. We're not going to be setting our camera to macro, you know, for doing trail camera work. Okay, and what we need to do on the back side of this lens is get this piece of glass off here. This is a filter glass, and we're going to need to get that off of there. And a lot of times you can take acetone or something like that and just kind of run some around the perimeter of that glass and let it soak for a while, and that loosens up the glue that holds that glass in and makes it a little easier to get loose or to get out of there. But you need to be really careful that you don't, if this glass breaks, you know, you don't want to scratch the lens that's underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get that filter out of there. Alright, so I got the filter removed from the lens, and as you can see, it's just a little small thin piece of glass. And actually I didn't even use acetone or denatured alcohol or anything. I just took the point of a small knife and just got in there and just kept working at it until I got it to lift up. And you can do that sometimes and it'll work out okay. This piece of filter glass didn't break on me. Have had them to break before, but if it does, that's no big deal. Just make sure you don't have any little broken pieces of glass that get down here on your lens and stay there. If you do need to make sure you clean that off of there without scratching up that lens. But from here it's just a matter of putting the camera back together. We're going to put our lens back in, put our front and back covers back on, get everything back together, and we'll be good to go. Alright, so I've got my little camera hack. I've got my wires coming out the top because I'm going to mount a servo up there, and I'm going to check our battery externals to make sure we've got a good connection there. Get my multimeter here. Touching my leads to the external power wires, I'm reading 2.86, so I know my externals are okay. Alright, now to check our hack, I'm going to take our common wire, touch that to our power wire. The camera powers up, common wire to shutter, and the camera takes a photo. Once again, camera takes a photo, power common to power again, and the camera powers off. Alright guys, so that's the way I do my hacks on my 503s, and I hope this helps out. Thanks for watching.